Hello, I'm Phoenix. I use they, them pronouns.
And I'm Eve, and I use any pronouns.
And this month on Book Club, we are discussing The Wee Free Men by Sir Terry Pratchett.
I'm so excited.
This was such a good choice
Right?
that we made.
I'm so proud of us. We did a good.
Yeah. After last month's
Whatever the hell that was.
we decided that we needed something that we would definitely enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because it's not even just last month's. This season, this year, we've had quite a few that have been not so great. We've had a couple of really good ones.
Mm-hmm. It seems to either be they're really good or they're kind of shit. There doesn't seem to be very much of a leeway this year.
I think probably the closest we've had to sort of middle was Sword and Thistle.
Yeah. Which was okay.
Yeah. So we wanted to do something that we knew was going to be good.
Yeah.
And so we chose Terry Pratchett.
Yeah. We technically have read this before, but it's been many years.
This is the first time we've broken our rule of only new books that neither of us have read. Mm-hmm. But this doesn't count the same because we've both read it before.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's only sort of breaking the rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I don't know when I last read it.
Oh, I couldn't name you.
It would have been at least a decade.
Yeah. I mean, Storygraph tells me I've read it twice, so I'm just going to trust it because I don't know, and it doesn't know either.
Yeah, no, it must have been at least a decade because the last one came out in 2015.
That scares
and I read
me.
that when it came out. So this I must have read like early 2010s.
2015. So. That's crazy.
Yeah, because that's
scary.
When Sir Terry passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
I didn't
2015. It's been nearly 10 years.
I can't believe that's spooky. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Spooky.
I was 17.
Oh no. I'm not going to say what age I am.
I don't want to know.
Good. I'm not going to tell you. I was
already young off on a tangent. Yesterday morning, I was driving my partner to work, and we were having a conversation. I can't even remember what the conversation we were having was, but we ended up talking about how old we are.
Oh no!
And I literally had to turn to them and go, "How old am I?" Because I don't keep track anymore. Turns out I'm 26, by the way, but
Congrats.
I didn't know this. I lose track. I'm like 24, 25, somewhere in that vicinity.
Don't worry. Like I think a couple of days ago, I told someone I'm the wrong age, so it happens. I was like, yes, I'm 5 years old. How did you know?
Because I'm actually in primary 1.
Yes.
I've just started school. It's very exciting.
I went back on Tuesday. I was so excited.
Oh man.
I'm going to learn my shapes and colours now. Finally, after all this time.
Okay.
God, yes. But we're here to talk about The Wee Free Man.
The Wee Free Men.
Delightful. Yes, go ahead.
The Wee Free Men is part of Terry Pratchett's massive Discworld series.
Yes.
It is, I think, book 30 or something out of the 41, 42 that there are.
Actually spot on.
Oh my
god.
The
30. Because I have it up.
Are there 41 or 42? I can never remember. I think there's 41, right?
There is...
Oh,
it's God. Not loading.
How many?
Many. This is the
41.
We're talking.
41.
We're talking to the Oracle here. How many? Not the computer. The 41.
Do you not talk when you type? Anyway.
Yes, to the Oracle. Of course I do.
Yes. So this is it's technically quite far through the series, but because it's Discworld, it's made up of a bunch of little mini series. And this is the first one that was written for younger readers, is the way that it's always phrased. Well, actually, I think The Amazing Morrison and His Educated Rodents. I think that was for younger readers, and that one was before this. But this is the first one in a series
Yes.
for younger readers. So you can absolutely... The wonderful thing about Discworld, the wonderful thing about Tickers, is stickers are wonderful things. Tops are made out of rubber, the bottoms are made out of spring. Anyway, the good thing about Discworld is because it's all sort of sub-series, you can kind of just pick and choose to an extent.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter too much what order you read them in.
A lot of people
there are
will
numerous
say,
reading orders.
There's tons. There's so many. Don't start with A Colour of Magic.
I would strongly recommend against starting at the start.
Yeah.
Because the first couple are weirder. And I think if you've read other Terry Pratchett and you go back and read them, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you start with them, it's like strange.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say The Wee Free Men is probably one of the best starting points.
I think so. I started with We Free Men and Going Postal, so I think those two are pretty. That's my entry point. So
it's like starting Star Trek by watching The Next Generation.
Exactly.
Right, like you don't watch the original series first unless you really, really want to.
Yeah.
Because the original series is from the 1960s and looks like it.
You can tell.
So you start with TNG because that's the best Star Trek. And then you go back. Don't you start. You go back and watch TOS if you want to.
I don't think Captain Janeway would agree with you. She's my favourite.
Are you saying that you think Voyager's the best Star Trek?
I hate to tell you. It's the one I watch the most. I love it.
Okay, but that's different.
Yeah.
Right? There's a distinction between best and favourite. Right?
It's my favourite. But I don't think it's the best.
But do you think it's technically the
Probably
best?
not, no.
This is not about Star Trek.
This is about The Wee Free Men.
This is about The Wee Free Men. God, you're going to have so much to cut in this episode.
It's fine.
We've gone on 2 tangents already. We're not 10 minutes in yet.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it all in. Unedited episode.
Oh, God. So, yes, The Wee Free Men is about a young girl. She's 9.
Yeah. Which is kind of scary.
It is, right? Because
yeah,
I forget, because in my head she's like older than that. But that's because as her series goes on, she does get older. Right? Like she grows up book to book.
I think the second book she's like 13 or something.
Yeah. Which is one of the actual very few times where you really get a sense of like time passing on Discworld. Because anyway. So yes,
things happen.
Tiffany Aching.
Yes.
She's a 9-year-old girl. She works as she is a dairymaid on her parents' farm. She has 2 older sisters.
Yes. Who are both like...
And a younger brother.
Yes. Wentworth.
And Wentworth is her younger brother. And she is basically mostly the one who does the looking after of Wentworth.
Yeah.
And one day she's looking after him. He's playing beside a river, and a terrifying creature comes out of the river, and she runs away, and then comes back with a frying pan and smacks the creature. And this gets the attention of the titular Wee Free Men, who are Picts. That's P-I-C-T, not P-I-X, because it's a very witty pun, you see.
Very, very witty. Very witty.
Because that's what Terry does. They are small Scottish men, basically.
I love that we've been immortalised as these small Scottish men.
Love nothing more than fighting and drinking.
I feel seen.
And later on in the book, her younger brother gets kidnapped by the Queen of the Fairies.
Yes.
Which sounds more pleasant than it is. And she has to go to Fairyland and get him back with the help of the Wee Free Men. And a toad.
Yes, who's a lawyer.
Secretly a lawyer. Well, not so much secretly a lawyer, I suppose. That's
he doesn't know
he's a lawyer. He just doesn't remember.
He got a law degree. He passed the bar and doesn't even remember it.
Because when he was human as a lawyer, his client asked him to sue a fairy godmother.
Yeah.
And then the fairy godmother turned him into a toad.
Which is hilarious.
It's incredible.
It's amazing.
So yeah, that's what the book's about.
Yeah.
Basically, Tiffany Aching, she wants to be a witch, and she sort of becomes a witch.
Yeah,
kind of. She becomes a witch in training, as it were.
She mainly uses like more common sense, and then
but that's kind of how witches operate in this world anyway.
They just ask questions.
They just kind of do common sense.
Yeah, because no one else has it.
People think it's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, you have thoughts? Horrifying.
Yes, and she has to go and get her younger brother back from Fairyland with the help of a few hundred 6-inch high blue
Scotsmen.
Scottish men.
Love them.
I love the Nakmak Veagle, the wee free men,
right?
So much. They are incredible.
It's so good. I love, because between lines I just switch to like broad Scots in my head. It's like, oh
yes, absolutely,
lads, we've got it's always really deep voices as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. We will talk about that. It's fine. I don't want to get too much into our thoughts about the book yet.
Yeah, they're beautiful men. That being said, we should probably start on our drinks of what we are drinking this episode.
Yes. Yes. What would you like to go first?
Oh, okay. I made a tea. There's 2 ways to make this tea. But it's up to your preference. It's called the Bonnie Freeman. Thank you. I'm taking a bow.
Very good.
It's a sweet raspberry tea. It reminds me kind of like Highland flowers, kind of. So we're thinking black tea with heather flowers, dried raspberries, and dried strawberry granules. Or you can make it with hibiscus, which I prefer. The black tea version, but hibiscus is also delicious. It's more of kind of like an end of the day tea when it's not as much caffeine. With dried strawberries, raspberries, and orange peel to give it kind of a bit more flavor. I add sugar or sweetener to this because it's quite bitter. But you can do whatever you like. It's also good. The best hibiscus one is also good cold as well. Yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you.
I've gone for a sort of variation on a punch.
Love it. On
the basis that I didn't have any blue food colouring. So I was going to make a blue drink, but I didn't have any blue food colouring. So then I was like, well, what else feels appropriate? And then I was like, wait, punch. Because again, I'm very witty. But I made a few tweaks to make it what I'm calling a kick instead.
Ooh, love. Okay.
So it's 2 ounces of apple juice and a ½ ounce of passion fruit syrup with a sprinkle of dried crushed chili flakes. Put that in your cocktail shaker, give it a good shake.
Chili
and
flakes.
Then
delicious.
Strain it into a glass and add 2 ounces of, I went for orange and fig soda. So it's lots of flavour. And the chili flakes give it a really nice little, like, sort of back of your mouth heat.
I like that little kick.
So yeah, exactly, a little kick, like as if you were being kicked in the back of the throat by a 6-inch high man.
I love that.
It is truly an assault on the senses, but in a really good way. If I'd been, if I'd been able to be a bit more creative, I would have tried to come up with some sort of like granny sheep liniment style thing, but.
We've both gone
for this instead.
We both went for little man drinks. I love it. These little blue men.
I mean, that's what they're for, To
drink.
So yes, that's what I went
Heck
for.
Yeah.
It does have a good kick to it, and yes, it's quite pleasant. It's nice and fruity, but also like...
And the salt, yeah.
Yeah.
A smack. I never
a right smack across your face.
I never expect chipped chili in drinks, like ever.
Oh, but it's good.
It is.
I never expect it's like chili chocolate. I mean, you wouldn't know.
But I can get the sense.
Chili chocolate's also really good.
Is it?
Yeah. Especially because a lot of the time, it's not the same as like eating something spicy.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like warmth in the back of your mouth.
I like that.
And you do feel like you have to go like every so often, you know, to like
yeah.
But yeah, very tasty.
Heck
yeah. Yes. Okay.
Perfect.
Let's talk Cop Out.
Cop Out. Yes.
So, as ever,
Yes.
we are using Cop
Yes.
Out to write this book, as created by Book Roast on YouTube. Cop Out, you score a book on 7 different categories, add them all up, divide by 7, you get an average score. The categories are characters, atmosphere/world building, writing style, plot, intrigue, logic, and enjoyment. What did you give this as an overall score?
A 9.6.
Oh, mine's a 9.4.
Ooh!
I know.
But to be fair, most of these numbers are the same number.
Yeah, a lot of mine are the same number as well. Yeah.
Oh.
I did have to really think about this because I love Discworld so much. I love Terry Pratchett's writing so much. And I was like, I have to rate this objectively.
Yeah.
As objectively as I can. Right? Like, obviously, rating books is subjective regardless. But I was like, I have to try not to just be like, it's Terry Pratchett, 10s all the way.
Which would have been fair.
Yes.
It's a great book. But,
also, I just want to say, I have the very pretty Discworld Collector's Library
so jealous.
hardback.
It's so pretty.
One of it, because I'm collecting them little by little, although I don't think I have enough bookshelf space for them all, but one day.
Just get another bookshelf. Problem solved.
Yeah, the issue is that I don't have enough wall space for more bookshelves.
You don't need wall space, you just need a bookshelf.
Just plonk it in the middle of the floor.
Exactly. It's for display for everyone. Exactly.
Yes.
I just have my cover is an old battered copy that I got at the charity shop, and it's all the wee free men standing with the wee statue of the shepherd. Is my cover. I really like it.
I really like that cover of it. I think it's really that's the one
it's my favorite
that my parents have that I read when I was a kid.
Hell yeah.
Was that cover.
It's because I don't know if I like the sheep cover with the big sheep head and the wee free men on them. I'm unsure.
No, I don't like that one very much.
I just feel it staring into me. I don't like it.
There's a set of them that they did a bit more recently that has Tiffany on the cover with like a frying pan and the book in one hand and Miss Tick beside her.
Ooh, love that.
And some wee free men scattered around their feet.
Okay.
But yeah, I think my favourite, other than the pretty hardback one, is the one that you've got where they're all standing there with the, and like some of them have got shit that they've stolen.
Yeah. Some are trying to sneak away, some are trying to not look innocuous.
Yep. One's holding an egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Anyway.
So many good covers. They hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
But let's start with
it's great.
Characters.
I give characters a 10.
Same. I love everyone.
I love literally everybody.
I love everyone in this book. As I've already said, the wee free men. I love how we've been immortalised as these little Mac McFeagles.
Yes. I mean, obviously, it does bear saying they are very deliberately like a parody.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Like, there are obviously Scottish people who sort of talk like this, but it is very much deliberately a parody.
Oh yeah.
But that said, I absolutely love it. I think it's so funny. I love the way they speak. I love their names. I love that we've got like, you know,
sometimes Jock, but sometimes the shorter Jock version of blah 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 blah. I love it. Or Rob Anybody. He's my favourite.
Rob Anybody is like the like leader of them, as it were.
I love it so much. They're amazing.
And then there's oh god, what's his name? There's William, who's the Gonigal.
Yes.
Which is their like battle bard.
I love
plays the mouse pipes, which are basically bagpipes but tiny. Exactly. And
spits bars.
When they are played, they like hurt to listen to.
It causes psychic damage.
It's great.
It feels like waking up during the fringe, hearing the bagpipes. That's causing damage.
There's Hamish who rides birds.
Mm-hmm. And just like, wasn't there a bit in the middle where he's self-actualized, like, am I a bird?
Yeah.
Has he just been wearing like fake wings this whole time?
Yeah,
and just cacawing at everyone.
Truly something.
If I was one, I think I'd be in the bird suit.
There's Daft Wooly, who keeps saying things that all of the rest of them have told him not to say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Love it.
And hang on, I'm working on... here we go. There's Noah's biggest medium-sized jock, but bigger than wee jock.
The best boy.
Yes.
I love it. And when the next jock dies, then he'll become one lesser of jocks.
It specifically says that if wee jock dies, then he becomes wee jock.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a brilliant paragraph where she asks him, like, wouldn't you be happier with a shorter name? And he's like talking about how much history there is, and he just says his whole name and jock so many times. It's incredible.
I
love it. I love it so much.
He's just running around in circles. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's they're absolutely fantastic, and I know that in the later Tiffany Aching books there's more as well. So it's great. I love the Knack-Knack people so much.
That specific paragraph gave a bit of like calm from Dairy Girls. Now I say to myself, no, they are calm.
It's absolutely that. It really is.
So good.
I think they could probably utilise him in the same way that they use Colm in Dairy Girls to like distract the police.
They tied me to the Kelda with me on shoelaces. I love it so much. They're the sweetest little guys.
They're so great. So their whole thing is that they are Pixies. They used to work for the Fairy Queen, but they stopped because basically her whole thing is that the fairyland is like a realm that moves, and it attaches itself to other realms and like steals shit and then moves on. And they were fine with that to begin with because they love stealing shit, but eventually they started to be... She started telling them to, like, steal stuff from people who didn't have very much.
Yeah.
And the Knack-Knack Feegle have, I guess, like, morals. And they were like, it's fine to steal from rich people, but I'm not going to steal from this man who doesn't have very much. So they left. And now they have this whole thing about not having, you know... not serving any queens or kings or anything ever again.
Yes, they say the saying a lot, and I can't remember it.
Yes.
People, something, no kings. I love it.
Something, no king. That is definitely how it goes.
Yep. That's the shortened version. No, I love them a lot. I love the whole, like, them also being their greatest fear being the terrified of the greatest evil in this land, known as lawyers.
Yes.
I love that. And then every time, like, the what Tiffany has in her hat, what are you called? Frog.
Toad.
Frog. Yeah, Toad. Yes. I could remember his name. Every time the Toads like speaks, sometimes they throw in some like technical lawyer jargon, and they're like, "What did you just say?"
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
When the Toad remembers that he's a lawyer because the Fairy Queen like summons like terrifying nightmare lawyers to get rid of the Knack-Knack Feegle, and the Toad starts like having like a lawyer argument with them. Like, and then the Knack-Knack Feegle are like, wait, are you saying we could have had a lawyer on our team the whole time?
They didn't think this
they also they're scared of writing.
Oh, love it.
Because they think that writing is magic. They don't like giving people their names because if you know their name, you might write their name down, and if their name is written down on like a legal document, then that's how you end up in prison.
They're gonna end up with a 2.0 and a mortgage.
Yeah. They're absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I love them so much.
So good.
It truly is. It's just, they're absolutely brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I think, there's really nothing like the Knack Magazine.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love their whole.
Speaking of the Toad, I also do really enjoy the Toad.
Oh, absolutely. I love him.
I think he's very fun.
Yeah.
He's there to sort of be like Tiffany's guide.
Uh-huh.
Because the witch who he used to travel with, Miss Tick, has gone to try and find other witches to help, like, defeat the Fairy Queen and get the kid back. Mm-hmm. She's like, Tiffany, don't do anything. Tiffany's like, fuck that.
I'm gonna do everything.
I'm gonna go get my brother back.
I'm gonna get my frying pan. I'm gonna smack this queen. Like.
But Miss Tick leaves the Toad behind to like help Tiffany,
mm-hmm.
and so he spends most of the book like teaching her things or sort of translating things that the Knack Feagles say that she doesn't understand, or
Ken needs to know.
telling her about their culture and all this sort of stuff. I think that's great. And then, as we say, towards the end of the book, he remembers that he's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then he stays with the Knack Feagle, I think, as their
lawyer in residence.
Yeah.
And I love how
that they can't be arrested without a lawyer, I guess. And
I love how he doesn't change back into like a person by the end.
No, he's a toad. He stays a toad.
And he likes being a toad. Because like at the beginning, Tiffany's like, I don't want to kiss you because you'll turn into a prince, blah, blah, blah. Because she just hates being this conceived of being like girls are only like pretty princesses. And I really like he stays the toad because he likes being a toad. Apart from eating bugs. Even though he has a slug on him at all times.
Yes. He's great. I love him so much.
I love
him. And yeah, Tiffany, of course, is also fantastic.
A 9-year-old.
Her whole thing is that she's 9. And growing up, she's, heard like the fairy tales of, princesses or the wicked witches in the cottages and stuff. And Tiffany being one who has the potential to become a witch, hears these stories and is like, but why though?
Yeah.
And examines them closer than most children would.
She has second thoughts.
She has the second thoughts and the first sight, which are signs of being a witch. So second thoughts is being able to think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Which only witches can do in the Discworld. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And first sight is being able to see what's actually there rather than what your brain assumes is there. Which is what allows her to see people like the Knack Feagle. Yeah. Or to see, the various monsters that the Fairy Queen sends after her. Mm-hmm. She can see them because her brain doesn't cover over them, right? Most people don't see these because they're like, it's almost like exist. Their brain sees it and then goes, well, that can't possibly be real.
Yeah.
So then they convince themselves that they don't see it and they don't have the first sight. But Tiffany does. And that's what makes her have the potential to be a witch.
Exactly. I love how headstrong she is. Because
she's absolutely fantastic as a character.
Right. Because, once again, 9 years old. And she's like, no, you've kidnapped my brother. Wentworth has been taken after being used as bait to slay, whack Green Jenny or something like that.
Yes, so, Green Jenny is the monster that comes out of the river. Yeah. And Tiffany uses Wentworth as bait to get Green Jenny to come out of the river again so that she can smack him with a frying pan.
Love it.
Yeah.
He then subsequently gets taken by the witch because she's like, not the witch, the Queen of the Fae, because she's like, just wants to give Wentworth all these sweeties and coddle him a bit.
Yes, because the Queen of the Fairies can't have children of her own, so she steals other people's children and makes them act like how she thinks children should act.
Mm-hmm. And I love how as soon as that happens, she's like, well, what can I do to help? And not like, what can everyone else do? I'm 9 years old. I'm going to whack him with my frying pan. It's like, they are her thing, so she's going to go get him back. I love that she immediately jumps into the story. Yeah. Not even hesitating once. She writes down a note for her parents and grabs the Knack McFeagles, or the Knack McFeagles grab her feet and whiz off into the...
Yes, one of them stands underneath each of her feet.
Yeah, I love that.
Because they're very strong and very fast, she's then just sort of like floating along while they run underneath her. It's
fantastic.
It's incredible.
If that was that came charging towards me, I'd be so terrified. I'd turn tail. I'd give the brother back. I'd be like, I don't need this.
Because there's bits where they steal sheep. Mm-hmm. By doing the same thing with the sheep. They lift up the sheep from its feet, and then the sheep is seen like zooming backwards across a field.
Feet in the air. Just zoom.
Yeah. It's truly fantastic.
Brilliant. Another reason why Knack McFeagles are the best. Best guys.
Yeah, they're very... I love them so much.
They're so good.
I really do.
Must also be said that the Knack McFeagles did deal with Granny Aching for a while. I loved Granny Aching.
Yes.
I loved her philosophy. I loved everything about her.
Yes.
I love the little short stories we get. Sorry.
Granny Aching is obviously Tiffany's granny.
Yes.
She was a famous shepherd in the local region. Mm-hmm. Everybody like respected her. Everybody looked up to her. She was seen as like not only a really good shepherd, but also somebody who just like knew what they were about and could be trusted and all this sort of stuff. She dies a couple of years before this book.
Yeah.
And we do get these occasional flashbacks where Tiffany has like memories of time spent with Granny Aching. Mm-hmm. And we discover, like you say, that the Knack McFeagles and Granny Aching had like an agreement where, you know, she would provide things for them, they would provide things for her. She would hang out with their Kelda, their like leader. So the way a Knack McFeagle clan works is there's one woman who marries into the clan and then gives birth to
all of them.
So many sons, and they are the clan. And if she gives birth to a daughter, then that daughter, along with a couple of her brothers, goes away to find another clan to marry into.
Yeah, I like that.
It's very fun. And the Kelda of this particular clan was close friends with Granny Aching. Mm-hmm. And I really like that. I love the sort of implication that Granny Aching's sort of also a witch.
Yeah.
Not in like the way that the other Discworld witches are witches, but in the way that if she had been, you know, where they are, she would have definitely been a witch.
For sure.
Because she's out here on the chalk, she's just like her own thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I love it so much. I love how sassy she is towards literally everyone. Like the Baron, or is it the Baron? Something like that. Over the Lord of the Town. And wanting Baron, to like, I think at one point his dog kills a sheep or something, and so she has to train the dog up because he doesn't want to like put it down. And it's just like, I'm going to throw this dog into a barn with a sheep and it's going to smack your dog. And that's how it breaks so it's like the dog in. And I love that.
The like law is that if a dog kills a farmer's sheep, then the dog should be put down. Mm-hmm. And the Baron, being the Baron, is like, well, I don't want to put my dog down.
It's mine. I'm the Baron.
And her compromise is to, like you say, put the dog in a barn with a ewe with a freshly born lamb.
Yeah.
And the ewe beats up the dog, basically, to protect her lamb. And then the dog is terrified of sheep from then on. And she's like, this is the compromise. But basically she's like, know that the laws were broken for you. Like, know what this means. Like, this isn't nothing. Like, yes, this is, you know, obviously your dog has been punished, but this is still not what would have happened to anybody else's dog.
Exactly. She keeps the Baron accountable, much like Tiffany ends up doing with the son later on. And I really like how it reflects one another. It's so sweet.
It's like, she's sort of she's very much her
grandmother.
You know, becomes more like her grandmother as time goes on, which is fantastic.
And I love her coming back at the end of the book. Coming back, like being seen at the end with her dogs.
Yeah. Yes.
It was very, very sweet.
I do love all of that. I think it's so fantastic, and the way that Tiffany, I think, like, you get the impression to begin with that she idolizes Granny Aching. And then it sort of turns into like a realization that Granny Aching was like, from Tiffany's point of view, that Granny Aching was actually just a person.
Yeah.
But then that also is expanded upon when she learns more about Granny Aching, because she's like, oh wait, Granny Aching knew the Kelda, she knew the wee free men.
Yeah.
And I like that we sort of go through these 3 stages where it's like, first she's like this sort of superhuman figure, then she's like just another shepherd, and then it's like she was something more. Though,
Yeah.
Right? And the implication being that, like I said, she's basically a witch, even if she wouldn't have used that word.
Yeah.
But she does, for the locals, what the witches elsewhere in Discworld do. And I love that. Yes.
And I love.
Should we move on to atmosphere, or have you got more character stuff to say?
Not really, but I just love Tiffany and Granny Aching's relationship as well, with the little figurine that Tiffany gives Sir Granny, and he's like, grandmother hated it, she loved it, and it was on her prize shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's this sort of China shepherdess figure, right, which is very like sort of Little Bo Peep aesthetic, right? And obviously Granny Aching is not.
Oh that, God, no!
Right? She is like, she probably wouldn't have ever thought of the word shepherdess, right? She was a shepherd, right? She's, there was no reason to distinguish, and Tiffany thinks that her granny doesn't like the figurine because I think she assumes that her granny looks at it and goes like, "This isn't a real shepherdess," that sort of thing. And I think the implication is that, from Granny's point of view, I think she sees that as like, is this what Tiffany thinks I should be? And also like, I think there's almost a little bit of like, I think it'd be really cool if I could be this. You know what I mean? And so, like you say, when she shows up when Tiffany sort of sees her at the end, she is dressed in the clothes of the shepherdess doll.
It brings me a lot of joy.
Which is really sweet.
Yeah, they're very sweet together. But that's all I have about characters.
Okay, let's go atmosphere / world building. I gave this a 9.
Same. I liked it.
Yes.
Oh, I say I liked it as a bad thing. It was great.
Yes, no, I liked it, yeah.
Atmosphere and world building. Yes. I always forget world building's in this, and I'm like, wait, there's a W here. It just has kind of the best world building, in the sense of like, I love how the fae are shown as to be like actual fae. Yes. And not some sexualized, romanticized version of fae. They're awful, like, well, not awful, but they are complex creatures, and it's very fun to see. I love when they go into fae for the first time, and she like perceives it, and then they meet the one where it shows you a dream, and it's like a creature that tries to talk how people would talk, and it can't do it, and it's like, oh, that kind of hurts, but it just wants to like fit in. Yeah. But it's all these kind of worlds poking into fae as well to make fae like a full place. I found it very fun.
Yes, it's there are much more sort of like actual folklore-y version of fairies, right? Where they're like, in this particular case, outright cruel, right? But certainly like, they're not nice, and there's like rules about them and all this sort of stuff, and how they can and can't
I love rules.
Interact with the world. And I really enjoy that. I really love the world building of the chalk.
Yes.
Right? Like this area of the Discworld that we've not been to this area of the Discworld in any previous Discworld book. And we just get this sort of image of like very, very rural, like farming, shepherding communities on these like chalk hills. And I love there's this whole thing. Mystic talks about how witches are formed on rock,
on solid
ground, and she's like, how could there possibly be a witch here? This is chalk is soft. And the whole thing is that inside of the chalk there's flint, and flint is like far harder than anything else. And that's why Tiffany is able to be a witch. Is like she's technically on chalk, but really she's on the flint underneath. And I really like that.
Yeah.
that like aspect of the world building. I think that's really fun.
I love how we're taught more of the world building, like through actual like lessons, because Tiffany to like go to quote unquote class and stuff, because she's obviously a child. People set up tents in the town and there's traveling teachers. I love that.
Yeah,
and they would take
there's
like
teachers
food.
who travel around the area on like a loop, presumably,
Yeah.
and every so often they're near where Tiffany is, and so she'll take them like a carrot and some eggs, and pays for lessons with those.
Teach me a geography for 1 carrot.
But being Tiffany Aching, she corrects them at various points
good.
and points out spelling errors on their signs and all this.
They
sort of
pay her
stuff.
back with the carrots she already gave them.
And there's a very good, I think, this is sort of going back a bit to character, but there's a really good moment because Tiffany has this book of like fairy tales, and so after she encounters Green Jenny the first time, she finds in this book and she tries to find a thing about Green Jenny to identify what she was. And there's a passage in the book that talks about Green Jenny having eyes as big as soup plates.
Yeah.
And so Tiffany, being Tiffany, starts measuring soup plates to try and find out but what size of soup plate.
So good. There's so many different kinds of soup.
Well, exactly, and it's like, it's all well and good saying eyes the size of soup plates, but are these the 8-inch soup plates or the 6-inch soup plates, or and you know,
Be
the
reasonable
point
here.
That's something that only a witch would do.
Yeah.
And I think you definitely get the impression that most people in the area are not like Tiffany.
Oh god, no.
And that most of them are just quite happy to go about their lives, and Tiffany's the only one who's like, something about this fairy tale is weird, or something about the idea that this old woman was a witch just because she was an old woman who lived alone. Like, that's not right, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. But then she very much plays into that loner type as well, because she loves making cheese and like butter and stuff, and spends a lot of time just with cheese and the butter. Bit.
The dairy.
Yes, that's the word, thank you. Whereas when she's like compares herself to her sisters, where it's like they're off seeing the other farmhands, the boy farmhands.
Yes, fawning after young
swooning
men.
after young men. And she's like, I'm just making some cheese, man. And I love how the whole time she was like, I'm getting worth back, and then I'm going to go make my cheese. I'm going to go make butter, because I like doing that. And she knows what she likes, and I love that about her.
Yes. Yeah. I really like... One of the things that I really like about it as well is that she's not... At no point is she like, I want to go and leave and become somebody else elsewhere.
She likes the
she's
farm.
Like, she's like, I want to be a witch, right? Even before she meets Mystic or anything happens... She talks about how she's wanted to be a witch, right? Because she's read about these like nasty old lady witches, and she's like, no, I need to show people that that's not what a witch is.
Exactly.
Keeping in mind that she's never met an actual witch, right? But she's like, I need to show people that you can be a witch and it's not that. But at no point is she like, does she want to leave?
Yeah, she likes home.
And I really appreciate that. Like, she wants to be a witch for her area. And I think that's very sweet. I think it says a lot about the community and as well as being a lot about her.
Yeah, because she just wants to protect her family and the place she's from, and I really love that.
Yeah, I think it's very sweet. I think my only the reason that I put atmosphere as a 9 instead of a 10 / world building is just because there are the occasional thing where it makes more sense if you've read other Discworld books.
Yeah.
Particularly at the end when Granny Weatherwax and Nanny Og show up. These are the other witches that Mystic went and got to like help.
Yeah.
They are the characters that you encounter in all of the other witch books in the Discworld series.
Yeah.
And their presence makes a lot more sense if you know more about them. But also even some of the stuff about Fairyland and the fairies makes a little bit more sense if you've had like other context.
That's fair.
Yeah, but that like is really small stuff. It's not like there's anything that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There's just little things where it's like, if you've read the rest of Discworld, this will make more sense. Yeah. But not in a way where it's like you're pulled out of it.
But then again, it's always kind of great if you read this first and then you go in, you're like, oh my god, wait, the other witches. I can't remember their names. Oh no. Miss Tick.
Nanny Og and Granny Weatherwax.
Granny Weatherwax, you're in this book too. That's really cool. And it's like a little like.
Yeah.
I love how they're all interweaved. I know it's like the same universe, but it's still kind of fun.
Yeah.
Because then you can go back and read it again, and it's perfect. You're just like, I know you.
Yes, that's
I love
true.
It. The only reason this was also a 9 for me is because this will probably going into like writing style as well, but there was a little bit of like slowness in some places where I was just like, cool, this is just a lot of world building all at once. Or as much as I loved the Wee Free Men, I felt we spent a lot of time with the Kelda. Which I don't know, or like it felt we needed to get to Fairy and it didn't happen as fast as I would have liked, but once again that's in writing style as well. But yeah.
I can see what you mean.
And then,
I think
so
it's kind of the downside of this sort of being a standalone is that it needs to spend some time
getting there,
or being the start of a separate series within Discworld, is it needs to spend some time like setting stuff up that you wouldn't need to do otherwise.
Exactly. And then I sometimes it just felt I was in like a field for a very long time. As much as things were happening in the fields, there was just a lot of running in the fields. But that's also in writing style as well, which I've kind of jumped into. Whoopsie.
Well, that's all good because I've said everything I was going to say about
Atmosphere. Perfect.
Atmosphere. So, writing style, I gave it a 10.
I give it a 9 because of the...
I love Terry Pratchett's writing. I don't think this will be a surprise to anybody. I've talked about it a lot before. I love him so much. I think he's brilliant. I love the flashbacks. This series is actually, I think most Discworld books don't have chapters.
Yes, they don't.
But
this one does.
This series does because they're intended for younger readers.
Yes.
Which I like. And there's not many in this book, but there are footnotes.
I love a footnote. I love them so much.
Which I do love. There's not as many in this one as in some of the other Discworld books, but they are there.
Like in specific, like Going Postal, there's one that's just a full page. Is one footnote. It's brilliant. Footnotes are so fun to mess around with. Cause
they're fantastic.
Just gives that extra little bit of sometimes funny as well, because they're sometimes really funny.
Yeah, I do love. Recently, they did I say recently. I don't know how recently it was, but recently-ish, they did a new set of audiobooks of the Discworld, and the different sort of sub-series were voiced by different people. So there was like one person who did the reading for all of the Witches books, for example.
Yeah.
But throughout all of it, they have. I think. Hang on, I want to make sure I get this right, but I'm pretty sure. That they got Bill Nye to just be the voice of the footnotes.
No way.
So like, yeah.
Genuinely, that's so cool.
Yeah. So they've got just like, it'll be like, you know, one person reading like all of the Witches books, but then anytime there's a footnote, it's Bill Nye.
That is brilliant.
And I think that's so great. I love that idea.
Bill Nye.
Not to be confused with Bill Nye the Science Guy, just to be clear, we're talking about the actor here.
Yes.
But they were just like, he's just going to be the voice of the footnotes, and I think that's absolutely brilliant.
It would have been still good if Bill Nye the Science Guy was here.
But I think that sort of says something about how sort of infamous Terry Pratchett and his footnotes became, right? Like it's like a hallmark almost of his writing, to the point where they were like, we need a separate guy just to do the footnotes. I love that.
Footnotes so much. They're so good. Adds so much. I love the inclusion as well of like flyers and stuff as well. I love the like little visuals as well that we get. I love that kind of stuff of like real world stuff, and then it's got like spelling mistakes in it. And I love that so much. It makes it feel very lived in. I love them.
It does. So like when she leaves a note for her parents, there's like a little note like in the book. Which I think is just brilliant. And
for
you
each
can
of the
see where
texts.
she's like scored stuff out to like change the wording, or because she spelled it wrong or whatever.
It's like dearest parents scratched out. Parents.
There's like, dear mum and dad, I have gone to look for Wentworth. I am perfectly scored out. Probably scored out. Quite safe, because I am with some friends, which is scored out. Acquaintances, which is scored out. People who knew Granny. P.S. The cheese is on rack 3. Will need turning tomorrow if I'm not back. Love, Tiffany.
I love that.
It's in like a different font. It's in like a little like visual square thing. I think it's a really fun little way to just like make it its own thing.
And it looks like handwriting as well. Love it. Oh,
it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Yeah, I don't have really anything else to say about his writing style. I love his writing style so much. Like, anytime any other book uses footnotes, I'm like, oh, it's like Terry Pratchett. Obviously, I'm very aware that he did not, like, invent the use of footnotes.
No, yeah, he did.
I like to think he perfected it.
I think he definitely invented footnotes. It seems right.
To the point where his biography
mm-hmm.
of him that came out a couple of years ago is called Terry Pratchett: A Life with Footnotes.
Oh, yes,
which, like,
it's just perfect.
It is, and I think it was written by his assistant.
Hell yeah.
Rob Wilkins, who also helped him write the last couple of books when he was really struggling with Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
But I think that says a lot about, sort of the like crossover almost between Terry Pratchett and Footnotes, that they were like, this has to be the title of his biography.
Exactly. It's perfect for him. Ugh.
Yeah. I guess we'll move on to plot. Yeah. I gave plot an 8.
I gave it a 10.
I think the plot was very solid.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it was anything massively unique.
Oh, yeah. I
think that's sort of why I rated it down.
That's fair.
I was like, it's not, because some of the Discworld books are plots that most people would not write. Like, I don't think anybody but Terry Pratchett could write a very interesting fiction book about improving the post office. Right? Like, that's not something most authors could pull off.
Oh God, no.
Whereas this, I think obviously the details would be different, but I think a lot of authors could write a children's book about a young girl who wants to be a witch going to save her younger brother from the Queen of the Fairies, right? The details would be different, but I think the plot. Mm-hmm. So, but it's not to say bad things about the plot.
Plot's great.
I think it could be more original. That's all.
That is fair. It is a very people have done this kind of story before, but I just think along with how quirky the characters have been, it kind of elevated the plot for me. But for what it is, because I thought it was bang on the money for me personally.
I think it does bear remembering.
It's a kid's book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, like it's
middle grade?
I guess technically YA middle grade. Like I was struggling to define it.
I would say middle grade.
I think middle.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about these is because Tiffany grows up as the books go on. Mm-hmm. I think if you're reading them as they were coming out, chances are you were probably aging up with Tiffany.
I like that a
which
lot.
kind of worked.
It's very sweet.
Whereas, obviously, I think if you were to try and read them all in a go now, you would not be. But yeah, I was struggling to determine whether to call it YA or middle grade. I was like, I just don't know. But
it's very.
It doesn't really matter, I suppose, because there's not I don't think there's any moments even in the later ones that are too grown up for a child. To be fair, I started reading Discworld, and I say started, I mean started at the start. Yeah. With The Colour of Magic when I was 9.
Wow.
Right. So I don't think any of it's really. There's the occasional thing that's maybe a bit raunchy. Yeah. But I think chances are, if you're reading that, certainly when I was younger, I just didn't realise that it was raunchy. Right, so it wasn't a problem. Yeah. It's like when you're watching Shrek or something, and there's jokes that that you don't get just as a child. You're just like, okay, I just accept it. But when you're an adult, you're like, oh, okay.
Well then.
So I think she's 9 in this one. Yeah. I think she's 11 in the second one.
Okay.
And then 13
in the third.
And then I don't know how old she is in the last 2.
That's fair.
I think it's sort of maybe 15, 17, sort of, she just sort of gets older.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It very much, when you were just trying to categorize it of what age rating was, it just reminds me of that T. Kingfisher book we read. About the bakery.
That's one of my recommendations.
Is it? Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
But it's also hard to put into a category.
It is, yes. Yeah.
I think I have the same.
Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking.
Yeah. Very good book.
Which we've done an episode on.
Yeah, go watch it. Go watch it. Listen. YouTube, you can watch it on YouTube.
Hey. I mean, it's not the most exciting watch. It's just our podcast cover art.
But
you could watch it if you wanted.
You can look at it real hard. We worked on that real. Anyway, do you have anything more to say about plot?
I do not know.
Intrigue.
I gave it a 9.
Same.
There was plenty going on. But I read this in like a day.
You read it before. You finished it before I had finished it, and I had been reading it for 2 weeks.
I started it after. Yeah. But that's because, in my defence, it was a very quiet day.
That's fair.
So it's just like, I'm just going to read my book.
I was like, how the hell did you do this in 2 hours after work?
I was like nearly done, and then I finished it that evening.
That's fair. See,
and then after finishing that evening, I read a middle grade. I don't even know that I would describe it as middle grade. A slightly younger than middle grade book. That I also finished that day.
Damn.
So it was quite a productive day for book reading.
No need to show off how far you are in your reading challenge, okay?
That's it. 68.
Shut up. I'm almost at 50. We're almost there. I think we're 2.
There was a moment there where you were like zooming, and I'd been reading like 2 books, and I was like, oh no, they're going to catch up. And I was like, wait, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because in a month, you're going back to uni.
Don't say that to me.
And then I'll just cruise to victory, and everything will be fine.
How dare you bring up uni in this trying time, okay?
Anyway, I read it quite quick.
Yeah.
It's that sort of book. The only reason it's a 9 is because, as you sort of mentioned a couple of times, there's a couple of bits where the pacing slows down. And so I dropped it down to a 9.
That's fair.
But other than that, yeah.
I struggle sometimes with rereading books because I'm like, oh, I'm going to love this. I'll just wait until I'm like precisely in the right mood. But it's been 2 weeks, what?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I know kind of what's going to happen from like memory, and I'm like, oh, I love this. Wait, I'm only on page 14?
I assume you were reading other books in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, I struggle to do that.
I have to read multiple books at the same time.
I have an audiobook and a physical book. And an ebook that I haven't read any of in about 3 months. That's
fair.
It.
At the current moment, I'm reading 5 books. And that includes a graphic novel, a middle grade, a collection of an essay book, and something else.
See,
I can't remember.
I just can't really do that. I think it just I end up not picking half of them back up again.
That's fair. I've sometimes happens with me as well. Like some will DNF very quickly. Oh, and an audiobook. That's what it is.
Yeah, see, I have an audiobook on the go at the same time because obviously I listen to that like on a commute or whatever.
Or when I'm driving around.
So that's different.
Yeah.
But I do always have to make sure that whatever genre my audiobook is not too similar to the book I'm physically reading because stuff gets crossed.
I can't read like 2 epic fantasies together at the same time. That would destroy my brain cells. That's like why I'm like middle grade. Oh, and an essay and maybe like an adult book. Adult fantasy. No,
see, I think even that would just confuse me.
That's fair enough.
Anyway, intrigue. You were talking about.
Yes, that was my only thing. Yes. Is one, it was a little bit slow in pacing wise in some places, and I also suck at rereading books at a fast pace.
I think this had the advantage of being a reread that I had, like I said, read for the first time over a decade ago. Right. If I reread books too soon after I first read them, it doesn't work.
That's fair.
Because I'm like, I've just read this. I know what, like, I know what happens in this book, obviously. But if I'd read it like 2 years ago, I think I'd be like,
That's right. Specifically, when I got to Fairy, I finished it that day. When I got to the Fey World, yeah.
When you got to Fairyland, yeah.
Because the second half is fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
So good.
Like I say, it was just a real quiet day.
That's fair.
I was like, I have nothing else to do. I'm just going to read my book.
That's fair. Hey, we work in a bookshop. You're just it's research.
Well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I can get away with
Exactly.
it. I wouldn't do it while the boss is
God,
there.
no.
I'm always like very careful not to be like reading an ebook on my phone though, because then people will just think I'm on my phone. I'm like, if I'm standing there with a physical book in my hands and I'm like reading it, then I'm like, I look educated.
Exactly. I always feel better with a physical book. But that's a different topic entirely.
And also we do get customers every so often who are like, oh, what are you reading at the moment? And I like being able to like hold it up to them.
Exactly.
Like,
this is what I'm reading. I love that.
So
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway.
This feels appropriate logic.
Yeah, I gave it a 10.
There was no holes.
There's no holes, no plot holes. I really love the like magic system used by the witches in Discworld, where there is magic in there, but it's also not magic. Yeah. But it also is magic. Yeah. But it's also not magic.
It's common sense coupled with kind of magic.
Yeah, like there is magic happening, right? Like objectively. Yeah. But it's not like they're not like casting spells or doing charms or anything.
That was my spell.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Oogly boogly. It's all, like you say, much more about sort of common sense or stuff like that. And I think I really love it. I love it so much. Yeah. I love how Tiffany sort of learns that a lot of the time it's just about sort of convincing yourself and therefore the world that something is true.
If you
and then it becomes true.
Yeah. If you yourself believe that it's a thing, then it'll become a thing. I really like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's really fun.
It's a really interesting take on magic as well. It's a very interesting system.
Yeah. In the other witches books, Granny Weatherwax has what she calls headology, which is basically just like, it's sort of like a mix of like psychology and also like the placebo effect, right? So like if somebody comes to her saying like, oh, I've got like a bad knee, can you give me a potion that'll fix it? And she'll give them just like, you know, something that isn't going to do anything for their knee. Yeah. But because it's come from a witch and because she's told them it'll help heal their knee, their knee starts to feel better, right? Exactly. So it's like a placebo. It's headology is what she calls it. It's a placebo effect. But it's also like she knows how people's heads work. She knows how people's minds work. And that's kind of the core of being a witch in Discworld. Yeah. And I love that. I think it's so brilliant. Because there are also wizards in Discworld who do like what you would probably think of as more sort of traditional magic.
The witches kind of like
that. The witches are just like, no, we're just in your head, man. we're just in there.
We're just doing psychomycology.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
It's just a bunch of women with degrees. I love it.
Basically, I do love how there's sort of like an ongoing thing with the witches in Discworld where people make comments or jokes about like, do you have to like dance around naked? Yeah. And I do like that there is a bit when she's talking to Granny Weatherwax and Nanny Og, she specifically is like, I don't have to dance around with no clothes on or anything, do I? I heard rumours. And it's like, Mistress Weatherwax rolled her eyes. Mrs. Og grinned cheerfully. Well, that procedure does have something to recommend it. And I love that like...
They've heard it so often.
The witches in Discworld are absolutely brilliant. I think
I love them all,
and I'm so glad that we have the Tiffany Aching series because I think it's such a fun way to look at the witches that we already know and love from the other witches books from the perspective of somebody learning to be like them. I think it's really fun.
They all just give like chaos ant energy.
Basically, yeah.
I love it.
Except in Nanny Og's case, it's like chaos grandmother to like 500. She has so many relatives, it's insane.
I love
it. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, okay.
Okay, so enjoyment.
10.
Also a 10.
Yep. I loved
I don't
it.
think this will surprise anybody.
Oh my god, we liked a book.
I love Discworld. I love Terry Pratchett. I love the Tiffany Aching series.
So good.
Like, I don't think I could pick like a favourite Discworld thing, but they're certainly up there.
Yeah. I don't think I've read enough Discworld to pick a
Actually,
favourite.
no, I could absolutely pick a favourite book, but this is up there.
Out of all books. All books, could you pick a favourite? Exactly.
Out of Discworld, I could pick a favourite Discworld book, probably, if I had to. Okay. And this is in the top, like, 10 or so.
Yeah,
I've
that's
not
fair.
formally ranked them.
Yeah.
But it's up there. It's one of my favourites.
Okay.
And the series, the Tiffany Aching series in general, I just love. They're just great.
They're so good.
I really need to reread the rest of them.
Yeah, same.
I will say,
I've never finished it, so
beware, all readers, that A Shepherd's Crown, which is the last book in Discworld, it's the last Tiffany Aching book. It came out after Sir Terry Pratchett had passed on.
Yeah.
It's really good, right? It's really good.
Damn good.
It's also really sad,
Yeah.
right? It's a lot about death. It was obviously on his mind, and it's really heartbreaking and really beautiful. And I don't not read it, right? Like, do read it, but just go in prepared for emotions.
Guard.
And I would also suggest strongly that before you read The Shepherd's Crown, I think it's definitely worth reading all of the obviously all of the Tiffany Aching books, but also I would read all the Witches books.
Fair. Okay.
Before The Shepherd's Crown, because it improves things.
Nice. Subtle.
There's characters in The Shepherd's Crown
Better.
who you will have more appreciation for if you've read the rest of the Witches books.
There.
Basically.
Nice.
So yeah.
Heck yeah.
Because it's sort of an end to both the Tiffany Aching series and the Witches series.
Yeah.
And also the Discworld, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, it specifically caps those two off quite nicely. So it's worth reading both. I mean, you should read all of Discworld.
Yeah.
You should read all of it.
Speaking of what you should read, for my book recommendations, Discworld is just one of them.
Yeah, I put any other Discworld.
Any other Discworld books in commas, Going Postal, because that's my current favourite.
Going Postal is fantastic. I love, there's I think 3 of them.
Yeah. I need to
There's Going Postal, Making Money, and Raising Steam.
Exactly.
Which are just like about this one guy, Moist Von Lipton, who first is asked to, he's a con man, and for reasons he ends up first having to rehabilitate the post office because the post office has existed for a long time but has been in like disrepair and has not been doing its job. Then he has to do the same thing for the banking system, and then he gets involved with Discworld's burgeoning
trade industry,
fresh new railway system.
He just has so many cookie adventures. And I love it.
They're really fantastic.
He's so silly. Because
there's a movie of Going Postal.
Is there?
Yes.
What? Hold on.
Was fine. It's got some people in it that you would recognise.
It's got Richard Coyle in it.
Yep.
Charles Dance. I'm sorry, I have never seen this.
Yep. So it's got Richard Coyle. It's got David Suchet, who you would know for as Poirot.
Poirot.
He's in it. It's got Charles Dance.
Reacher.
It's got Claire Foy. Claire Foy is in it. It's got Terry Pratchett has a cameo in it, which is fun. There's a whole bunch of people that you would definitely recognise.
Never seen. It's a TV show. Oh my god!
I think it was like a 2-part.
Oh, okay.
It's like a 2-part TV movie.
Nice,
sort of
right? Okay, that makes more sense.
Because
Wikipedia is like it's a TV show and a film. I'm like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah, I think it was made for like Sky
That's
or
fair.
something like that.
I'm gonna have to watch that later.
It's a good laugh.
Hell yeah.
It's good fun.
Hell
yeah. Going Postal also, of course, specifically gives us the whole thing about a man's not dead as long as his name is still spoken.
Yes.
And the whole GNU Terry Pratchett thing.
Favorite line.
Which,
so good.
You know, if you don't know what G&U Terry Pratchett is, Google it. It's and that all specifically comes from Going Postal. So
Yes.
definitely do read Going Postal. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you have any more book recommendations?
God, we'll try that one again. A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking.
Yes. So good. By T. Kingfisher.
Which is by T. Kingfisher. Like we said, we have a whole episode on it. It's quite similar to this in a lot of ways.
But I really loved that book.
We really enjoyed it. I don't want to talk about it too much because you should go listen to our episode and also you should go read it. But yeah, it's a solid book. Same sort of age rating, same sort of humor.
Yeah.
Same sort of vibe as this.
And a sourdough starter familiar for which he bakes and make their bake come to life. It's great.
They
make their bake.
The bake come to life.
Excuse me, you're making fun of my...
Yes, I am.
God damn it. Can't believe this.
Their bake come to life.
Make my bake come to life. Yeah.
Yes.
I have another T. Kingfisher recommendation.
Go for it.
Was Illuminations. I specifically love the audiobook of this because I haven't read it physically. I've listened to the audiobook, but it was done very well. Rosa's family are the greatest magical illuminator painters, and they basically keep the town going. You'll paint an angel and it'll keep the water being pure and not have dirt in it. And a bunch of other things I remember the angel ones. But she's a kid as well, and she discovers this secret box with a vicious creature inside, which gets out and is now going to destroy all illuminations. So she needs to stop the creature with one of her old best friends, which they're not very close anymore, and their bird guardian Pain. And I love him. I love it so much. It's a great book. So fun.
Yeah. I think I've got the audiobook of it.
You need to listen to it. It's so good.
Yeah, I'll get around to it at some point. Eventually.
That's fair.
I go through audiobooks quite slowly because I don't listen to them that frequently.
I listened to it in 2 days because I remember vividly I was at university sitting in my car I've got 10 minutes before class. We're going to go in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it's so good. And I'm...
It's because I tend to listen in 20-minute chunks when I'm on my way to and from work, so it just takes a while.
But I'm also a freak and I listen on 2.5 speed sometimes.
Oh yeah, see, I'm 1.3 is my limit. It
That's
depends
fair.
on the narrator as well, because some narrators talk fast.
Yeah.
And so if you've got the speed up too high, they start to go and I'm no. No, thank you.
It's just speaking gibberish the entire time.
Yes.
Love it.
I have one more.
Okay, me too.
Which is the Earthsea books by Ursula K. Le Guin. Especially the second one, which is called Tombs of Atuan. Yeah, the Tombs of Atuan. Which, is about a young girl who is the high priestess to some dark gods.
Nice. Love it.
And she wants to learn more about the world, and then a wizard who is the wizard from the Wizard of Earthsea turns up and persuades her that actually maybe dark gods aren't that good and that there's a whole world out there, and he helps her,
I can show you the world.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
I can show
it's
you.
Basically just Aladdin.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's because you said, show, there's a whole world out there, and I was like, don't sing it, don't do it.
Yeah, I would. I've not read the fourth one yet, but I will. But I obviously recommend reading all of them anyway. But Tombs of Atuan specifically has a sort of similar vibe to this, I would say.
My last one is The Haunting of Aveline Jones by Phil Hicks. I've talked about Phil Hicks before. I love Phil Hicks's work. I'm currently reading their new book, Shadow Hall Academy, which I've had for ages and never picked up until right now. For some reason, I was so excited to get it, and then I was like, oh, I'm going to save this for the right moment. Oh wait, it's August. What do you mean it's August, September?
Yeah, I know. What do you mean it's August?
Basically, in The Haunting of Aveline Jones, Aveline Jones gets haunted. No way.
What?
I know. So she's a kid and she moves in with her aunt for a little bit as their parents are away on holiday or something like that. And basically, she discovers that there is a ghost haunting the town. And she hikes up to the little neighbourhood bookshop and learns everything she can about ghosts, and she makes friends, and it's so cozy, it's so autumn. I love the book so much. There's 3 in the Aveline Jones series. It's the first one's Ghost, the second one is Witches, and the third one is something I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're all ghost books. I think the first one is the best, and I'm really enjoying Shadow Hall Academy. It's very boarding school haunted vibe. I love it. It's going great. Nice. I love it. Phil Hicks, such a good job. And they're middle grade as well, so even better.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Great. Mm-hmm. So that was The Wee Freebie.
Yes,
by Sir Terry Pratchett.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Next month, we are reading The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, which is like cozy fantasy, I believe.
I love the cover.
It's a very pretty cover.
I didn't expect to like it as much as I do, but it's very giving video game vibe, the cover.
Yes, I can see that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll have that in a month.
Yes.
And we will have Talking in the Tavern as well.
Yes.
In a couple of weeks, which is going to be a little bit different from the past few. We're going to try a new format, and if it works, if we like it, then we'll probably stick to that for at least a little while. Yeah. We're just trying to find ways to rebalance the workload. And make sure that we're not like giving ourselves way more to do than we need to do.
Nailed it. But anyway, that'll be coming out next month, so you can stay tuned.
That's next month
for our upcoming episodes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And obviously go back and watch our other stuff. Yeah.
Yes, we did a wonderful Talking in the Tavern earlier this month about graphic novels.
I think a great episode.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
We love graphic novels, and we don't get the chance to talk about them enough. So go listen to that because it's a good one.
And if you hear my cat in it, no, you didn't.
Hopefully you don't hear the cat.
Hopefully you didn't hear the cat. I had the joy of hearing all of the cat's very wet noises, but hopefully I got them all. So. I was the greatest text of my life.
I was just like, Eve, have you done something to your microphone settings?
So it's my cat.
There's weird wet noises in it.
My cat is pure gums. I'm so sorry.
It's just Priscilla gumming at the microphone.
The consequences to my actions. No.
This month's episode was graphic novels. Go listen to that. Mm-hmm. Next month we've got a slightly different format we're trying for Talking in the Tavern. So you have that to look forward to in a couple of weeks. And The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst in a month.
It's going to be fun. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us here at the Tavern. Phoenix, where can our listeners find you outside the podcast?
They can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, or Instagram, all under @beansandfungi. What about you?
You can find me, Eve, under Cozy Crow on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube.
And of course, make sure that you follow the podcast on Instagram @HearthAndTomePod, Twitter @HearthAndTome, TikTok @Hearth.and.tome, and YouTube @HearthAndTomePod to get updates about when episodes go live, behind the scenes stuff, all that good shit. Excellent.
Okay. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.
The music used in this episode was Midnight Tale by Kevin MacLeod through Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license.